Hi everyone, my name is Nicolas and I'm the founder and CEO of ML6, a company that builds AI for their customers. I recently got a couple of questions through our social media channels, and I'll try to answer them today to the best of my abilities. So the first question: as an inspiring entrepreneur, how did you or can I come up with a business or product? So typically you'll hear answers to that question in terms of like, you need to find your passion, you need to find things that drive you, you need to find a certain problem where people's hair are on fire, basically, a real problem that you need to solve, and that's all very true. I personally believe that you need to build a product or provide a service that people tell their friends about, or business people tell their business friends about. It needs to be so good that people speak about you, that people tell to their friends what you do because it's so good. So that's something I personally believe in. So how can you come up with such an idea? Is you really need to look for a certain pain, a certain problem that exists in the market, or that just people have, and don't try to make it too complicated. Many of the very good business ideas aren't actually very complicated. And then try to provide an excellent service or an excellent product to that problem. So good that people tell their friends about it. So, second question: with the recent developments in generative AI, what do you think the creative sector of 2030 might look like? 2030 is not that far off, and the developments recently are at an exponential pace. What we've been seeing up to today is nothing more than, frankly, staggering. What we can achieve, and I believe that in the near future, you'll see tools, you'll see frameworks that perhaps brings a bit of that generative AI power back to artists, back to the creative sector. Meaning that as an artist, I hope you will be able to add your own ideas, your own creative pictures to a certain AI system, to fine-tune it, to make it your own, and that the end result is also your own system. So I think one of the problems that we're seeing today is that through the fair use rule that exists, basically, these large institutions scrape the internet for imagery, and many artists, their work is actually present in DALL-E and DALL-E 2 and Stable Diffusion and so on, and it's bringing that creativity to the entire market, but obviously they are not getting their fair share, I believe, of those advancements. We're seeing an explosion in tools and solutions, but the creative sector is a bit left behind at this moment in time. So I hope in the future we might see that power shift back to the artists. I hope in the near future. In 2030, I think if you're a designer, or if you're an artist or a painter, I think having an artist plus an AI system to enhance your capabilities, to bring you inspiration, will make the world more beautiful. The current capabilities of generative AI enhance communication of people that aren't able to communicate in the same way. Artists can convey human emotion much better than for instance, our engineers at ML6. And I think having AI systems allows people to be better at expressing their human emotions. And I think that's a good thing. So I think in the future, the creative sector will have that power, and it will be more expressive. They will even be more capable of creating very beautiful pieces of work. And I think that's will create a more beautiful world. I just hope that the shift of power also is a bit more democratized than centralized, a bit more decentralized than centralized. Next question. Based on your experience from Skyhaus or ML6, what are the most difficult challenges when scaling a startup, and how did you overcome them? You face a lot of difficulties, but I never saw them as difficulties. Every single time when I come into the office, I'm amazed by the stuff that we do, by the work that we do, or by how the field has progressed. So those challenges aren't. I don't see them as challenges or as difficulties. Maybe. Having said that, as a young entrepreneur, you need to get advice. You need to find mentorship, and you need to make sure you're not making mistakes that other people have made before your time. So I think that's one of the main learnings I personally had, is finding good mentorship and also trusting a good mentorship. Because I was a bit stubborn as well in the beginning, and therefore made mistakes I shouldn't have made. So I think that's important. And then the second one is a lot of the stuff that we do and other companies do. We're doing this with people, with humans, and that's great because it's a lot of fun, first and foremost. But it's difficult. It's hard to collaborate. It's hard to communicate. So overcoming those challenges of communication, of openness, is something that needs to happen. And I think by just not being stubborn or just or not having a negative personality, but being very open and approachable and caring, I think you make your own life much easier to run your business, basically. I'm trying to think if I can come up with another one, but I think those two main topics are quite important. Just find mentorship and just don't be an asshole. I think that's probably good advice. So on the fourth question, how does ML6 approach ethical and societal issues surrounding AI, such as bias and transparency in decision making? A hot topic, of course, and difficult to answer. So we work in a wide variety of sectors, from doing projects where the European Union sees them as completely safe, to the entire other end of the spectrum as high-risk applications, such as providing career advice to people. So how do we handle bias? We try to look for certain technical measures, such as disparate impact, for instance. We try to find the right governance. We have an ethical unit that oversees the type of projects that we do, but it's also ensuring that we have processes in place. So our engineers do the right thing and our business developers do the right thing, and make sure that our solutions cannot be put to bad use. Finding transparency in decision making is extremely difficult depending on the technique that is being used. So we have a principle that we choose for explainable AI as much as possible, but we all know that certain techniques are much more black box than others. Decision trees, for instance, are easier to understand than large-scale reinforcement learning, for instance. On the topic of societal issues, we try to focus on projects that have a positive societal impact. The fact that we're not a large business, but we're also not a small business, gives us the opportunity and freedom to choose on which projects we want to work about. And I think having a lot of brain power to my responsibility, I think we should put it to good use. And that's also why we focus on trying to do good for society. We even have do good as one of our values. So you can see us working on things like reducing energy consumption, reducing raw material consumption. We're working on synthetic biology. We're helping the government be more efficient in terms of street lighting, in terms of energy consumption, and so on. And I think that makes sense for us to work on. And again, our ethical unit, our ethical committee, has processes in place, red lines for certain projects that we shouldn't and will never do. And if it's a bit unclear, we have an entire process in place that helps us to decide in the right way, according to our values, but also according to European values. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing AI development in the next 5 to 10 years? And what does it mean for businesses? So the current challenges many businesses face is the lack of talent, lack of educated talent, and the overall understanding of what AI is and what it can do. It's improving as we go and as hypes get more real, but it's still a challenge in terms of availability of talent. I also see a challenge in access to compute power. So what we're seeing is that these very large-scale networks require a lot of compute to train them, and that requires a hefty budget to do so. And for now, we're seeing a handful of organizations that are actually doing this on a large scale. That's a bit difficult for a startup or a scale-up to compete with. However, I do believe that model sizes get smaller over time. Data sizes seem to get smaller as well, if you look at the Chinchilla paper by Google. And also because having more quality data is more important than volume for these large-scale networks as well. So I think there's plenty of opportunity for startups and scale-ups to build valuable systems. And I guess in AI development, we'll see regulation, more strong regulation. And that could be a challenge, but I believe it's more a good thing than a challenge, because we need to make sure that this technology is safe and that it's for the benefit of humanity. What does it mean for businesses? It can mean so many things. It can mean efficiency, it can mean automation, but first and foremost, it can mean disruption of your entire business model. And I think it's a technology that needs to be taken very seriously and with enough time and care and effort to truly understand the trends and to truly see what it could mean for your business. And I think this is a good thing, as it allows for room for incumbents to be disrupted, or for healthcare to be drastically improved, for instance. Question number 6. How could you, as a CEO and inspiring entrepreneur, work with the government and other stakeholders to improve the technology landscape in Belgium, and prevent the country from missing out on a new industrial revolution. We're working with the government. We help them to understand this technology. And I think the issue we face, or at least the issue we have, is that there isn't a commercial pressure on a governmental body to improve. And that's different towards, in for instance, a digital business. A digital business like e-commerce has no other option than to continuously innovate and improve. Otherwise, they will be outcompeted in the market. And I think in Belgium, we're not doing a bad thing, or at least in Flanders, we're not doing a bad job. If you look at the initiatives our Flemish government is taking, these are quite innovative. Many cities are quite efficient already. And I think we're not doing that bad of a job. In Belgium, to improve the technology landscape and to create more efficiency, I think we need to have more awareness, more collaboration, and perhaps more collaboration between several federal governmental bodies. There are initiatives trying to get to increase that level of collaboration, but I think we can do more. If we don't want to miss out on an industrial revolution in Belgium, I don't think the question is how the government can help us to not miss out. I think the answer on not missing out on an industrial revolution is for Belgian entrepreneurs to step up. It's for private capital to start flowing. And it's for businesses to start implementing this technology, to automate and to become more efficient and to increase their productivity. It would be a shame to not take this opportunity, to not invest in efficient technology, because then you will miss out on this new revolution. We were a front runner in the industrial revolution with Flanders. And I think we can be, or we should be, a front runner in this revolution as well. And then final question: what is your opinion on using open source alternatives to ChatGPT? And how does ML6 assist companies in leveraging these solutions to develop specific interfaces for integration into business operations? So as you know, ChatGPT is amazing, and an open source version has been created, the Open Assistant, and it's being trained as we speak. So the code is there, and we have, I think, Lion and Yannick Kilker who are working on creating datasets to train an open version of ChatGPT. And I think that's a challenge because ChatGPT in itself is already quite good, and because a lot of people are using this already day to day, they are getting precious feedback upon which they can train again to make the system even better. So it's going to be a challenge for those open source alternatives to come up with a system that is of high enough quality so people will actually use it. I do believe that for large-scale business adoption, there needs to be an option where businesses can fine-tune or train or provide knowledge to ChatGPT or an open source alternative, whilst keeping their business secrets, their business documentation within their own control. Does that mean they can't send it to Azure or to OpenAI? I think that's a decision every business needs to make for itself. but that could be a play by an open source alternative to provide a managed version which is under control of the business itself. So what's my opinion? My opinion is use this technology as much as you can, because it's going to bring a lot of efficiency and automation. And efficiency and automation gives you more time to work on solving your customers' problems better. Should you use open source or ChatGPT itself? And that's a question which is hard to answer for me. I think it's something that might be different for each business. It's important to understand the risks. It's important to understand the knowledge that you're sharing to the outside world, and whether or not you're comfortable in doing so. So how does ML6 assist companies in leveraging those solutions? So we can help in coming up with new processes that are more efficient than what you're doing today. We can help in change management. We can help in fine-tuning those solutions very specific to your business. And we can integrate them into your architectural landscape. So I guess that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope it was interesting. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.